It's a home game for the Washington, D.C. region SCCA tonight at Summit Point Raceway, a 2-mile, 10-turn circuit that's been around for decades. Tonight, it's a 30-minute sprint race with our Group 1 cars. Thundering Ford Mustangs and hordes of Mazda MX-5 Miatas will take on West Virginia's road course on a beautiful virtual day of racing. Kyle Heyer joined tonight by Eric Mickey. No Tom O'Gorman this evening. He's off on a trip running a ZR. What's the fast Corvette? The ZR1, Eric? I think he's running the ZR1 at Summit Point this weekend, so he will not be here tonight. Eric, thanks for joining me tonight. 30 minutes, Mazdas and Mustangs at Summit Point. This is a home race for the DC region, folks. Going to be a fun one tonight, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. This is my first time covering the series, so I apologize out there to viewers and everybody on track if I get some names wrong, feel a little out of sorts going through it. I haven't really covered this series before, but should be in for some real fun with the Mustangs and the MX-5s out here tonight around Summit Point.
Should be a lot of fun. Let's have a look at our track map for tonight. Again, 2 miles, 10 turns. It all starts with a long run down the front straightaway. We'll be heading down there at about 135 of the Mustangs, about 125 of the Miatas in a slipstream. Then through turn 1, the hairpin right-hander, slight kink through turn number 2, then to turn 3, the fast left-hander on the racetrack, track out all the way to the gravel on corner exit. Then it's a run down through turn number 4 before you dive to turn number 5. Which will lead you into a left-hander into turn 6, a right-hander into turn 7, then left turn 8, right turn 9, and then that long straightaway to turn number 10. The last passing opportunity on this racetrack before you hit the front straightaway. It's a fast racetrack. It's a fun racetrack, Eric, but for everybody here, or a lot of the folks here, they're members of the, at least at one point were or are, DC Region SCCA members. So there's a lot of people here that have visited this racetrack a bunch in the real world and have become quite familiar with it. So this is a home track advantage for those that have been here before.
Yeah, this track is pretty deceiving. If you really get a hang of it and understand how to drive it, you can kind of put a lot of damage on those who maybe just have the iRacing experience and haven't run it very much otherwise. So these drivers are probably going to be the best that you can get on iRacing service to go around this track at the maximum ability.
And so we've got 2 classes tonight. We're qualifying now for the next 20 minutes. And for the next, I don't know, about 5 or 10, we're going to qualify our GMX5 category. That's the red number boards on our timing and scoring. And driving right now on the racetrack are those GMX5s. There's DJ ALESSANDRINI, the number 61. He's been mighty dominant in pretty much everything that he's run. Of course, we're used to seeing that. Eric, you and I both know that. But Zach RUBIN in the number 7, he is a competitor in the SCCA, but also in NASA, runs a spec Miata there. So he's got a lot of Miata experience, has been to Summit Point, and currently the fastest driver on the racetrack. So we'll see how good Zach RUBIN can do tonight.
Yeah, I've seen ALESSANDRINI win quite a bunch of races so far this year on iRacing, and he's always going to be the favorite whenever I see him in the roster to take home the win.
A handful of youngsters here in the field as well. Morgan BURKHARD and Jamison Huffman, both youngsters who are yet 18. They still got a little ways to go before they get there. I don't remember their ages exactly. I think they were 14 and 15 or 15 and 16, something like that, but they're real young. Sang Yi is back this week, and unless I've missed him in recent weeks, I don't think I've seen Sang Yi here in a really long time, so welcome back to Sang Yi. Right now 11th in the category, comes across the line of 122.511, no improvement. It is a deep Miata field here, Eric. We've got almost 30 of the Miatas and only 10 of the Mustangs, so qualifying is probably going to be pretty important. A 30-minute race is not a long time in an MX-5.
No, it's not, and this track is not very wide and doesn't have the greatest passing opportunities around it. You get to probably the best passing opportunity, but it's right after this kink, and we're coming up here now, going through this right-hander. Got to maximize that, the exit curving on the right, but not drag your tires in the dirt and slow you down. But down here, especially in the MX-5s, where you don't need all the space, is going to be where you have probably the biggest passing opportunity other than turn 1. And then through this really technical left and right section here, it's going to be hard for drivers to make ground up and make moves here. It's kind of going to be single file as they try to work their way through this section of the track before getting back to where it kind of opens up a little bit for them to go back racing and take and utilize the draft that is going to be present even at this small track with these Mazdas.
This is really a tale of 2 racetracks, Eric. I mean, you've got the first and last sector, which are very straightforward. You're seeing turn 10 here, the final turn on the racetrack, so fast and flowing. But then that middle sector, the one that we're looking at here, turn 5 all the way through turn 9, you mentioned it is very technical. It totally is. I mean, it's the difference between running in 2nd and 3rd gear and then 4th and 5th gear for the rest of the racetrack. You're down in the lowest gears. You've got the narrow narrowest part of the racetrack, the tallest curbs. This area of the racetrack is very difficult to pass in. I don't think we're going to see a lot of passing once you get past turn number 5. Everywhere else, though, that slipstream that you mentioned is going to be dominant, more so in the MX-5s and the Mustangs. We've seen this combination a handful of times, and it doesn't really matter as much in the Mustang because that car is a whole lot bigger. It's got more power to punch through the air. But in the GMX-5 field, it's going to be a hornet's nest on the opening lap, and I think that's the battle we're going to be having a fun time watching tonight. RUBIN still quickest, Alessandrini, then BURKHARD, Faraz Barzinzi, wow, we're going to try this again.
I thought I was the new one.
Barzinji in the 125. Throw me for a loop there. Ken Seal in the number 23 running 5th. Then Maloney, Huffman, Peter Schnorr, Sam Scott, and Jeff Barlow, the rest of the top 10.
Yeah, with the experience you have with these two classifications around the track like this, will we have the Mustangs lapping the Mazdas by the end of that 30-minute race, or do you think they'll kind of be separate for the whole thing?
There's usually a fairly sizable gap between the classes at the start of the race. Now, we almost didn't lap cars at Watkins Glen a few weeks ago, and the reason is because the Watkins Glen allows the Mustangs to stretch their legs a little bit. I don't think that the differences between the Mustangs and the MX-5s are going to be very large, maybe a second and a half. In a 30-minute race, I don't think we're going to see lapping depending on the size of the gap that the Miata field leaves. Now, we probably will see a handful of stragglers at the back get lapped, but that's always going to happen. I'm not sure that the leaders in the MX-5 category will go a lap down tonight to the Mustangs.
Yeah, that'll be really important for the leaders in the MX-5, and that has a lot to do with what you're running right now in this qualifying session, to get your start up front, to get yourself out of any of that danger of having to contest with any Mustangs coming through on the second half of the race or towards the end, kind of messing with your race. So that'll be big for these next 15 minutes and 15 minutes and a half, really, and to see where these drivers can get themselves on this starting grid.
Yeah, and again, we'll switch over to the Mustangs qualifying here in just a moment, but the last couple laps for the Miata field right now. Ken Seal, I'm a little bit surprised he's as far back as he is, currently 5th. Isn't getting a tow, though, so that's certainly not helping. Ryan Maloney as well is another driver I'd expect to see a little farther up the grid, so I don't think we're done, and they might get one more lap as he comes across the line. Will it be an improvement? Oh, it's only a 1:21.6. So no improvement for him. Ryan Maloney is working his way at the exit of turn 3, or turn 2 rather, and he might be gearing up for one more go.
Yeah, it's always telling about the talent of some of these drivers where you see them in 5th and 6th and you're thinking, they're really not down that far usually, so what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of the slipstream, I think. Morgan BURKHARD in the 2 is certainly no slouch. He's had success here in the early part of the season. Faraz Barzinji, though, not a driver that we've seen up at the front lately, so this is sort of a wild card from my early expectations. Peter Schnorr, another driver that we haven't really talked about in the 32 car. We are over, I believe, 300 members in the DC Region SCCA Virtual Racing League, so there's a lot of drivers on rotation that haven't been here in a while or haven't been here at all, and this might be their first night for a handful. Giancarlo Schooler, I think, is one that I haven't seen before, running a similar livery to that of Morgan BURKHARD up in 3rd.
Yeah, RUBIN's still sitting on the pole. Alessandrini 2nd, BURKHARD 3rd, Barzinji in 4th, and Seal still 5th. I'm assuming they've got to be on one of their last laps by now with how much time is remaining and still needing to get through Mustang qualifying, so be difficult to see anybody really make improvements by this point. I feel like if you haven't done it, maybe you're not going to.
That's probably likely, and at this point, if you're not in a slipstream, you're probably not going to improve. Everyone else at the top of the order has probably gotten a slipstream, and that usually, the organization starts at the drop of the session, and as soon as everyone runs a lap that they're happy with, they go off the racetrack, and your opportunities to work together go away pretty quick. So I don't think we're going to see a lot more shuffling at the end of the session. But RUBIN and Alessandrini still working together, and DJ now following the 7, so he might go to the top of the board this time through as the Mustangs prepare to get lined up for or for their qualifying session here. And Alessandrini across the line. We'll see if he improves. Needs to beat a 1:21.139. He does, and does not go faster than RUBIN. Yeah. It's only off by 33 thousandths of a second, but RUBIN hangs on to the pole. And DJ is going to call it quits in the end of the qualifying session. And we'll turn the field over now to our Mustang group. As soon as we wait for them to head on to the racetrack. Again, this is a pretty small group tonight. Paul Gibson has found success in the early going. Nikhil Kopkar in the 42 lined up in the back of that shot. The 13 is the one in between. That's Thomas LAYTON. And waiting for the Mustangs to get out there. This is a pretty small group, so I think the racing is going to be really tight, really intense. It's not going to be maybe as spread out as we saw Watkins Glen get. I think everyone here that's in this category is pretty capable of sticking together, so we'll see how it pans out for them here. They're going to have 12 minutes to qualify, and they're going to get turned loose here in about 15 seconds.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see the kind of lap times these drivers can put up and separate themselves from the lap times of the Mazdas, and that'll tell us a little bit more about what the racing is going to look like later on. But here they go, leaving pit road to start their qualifying as we're following Murphy Nichols out of the pit lane.
Murphy Nichols with the Smoketown Brewing Station car on the side of that. Recent birthday for Murphy as well, so belated happy birthday to Murphy. As we roll out onto the racetrack, Peter Lausen at the back of the shot there in the number 12. That's the bright orange car. Elias Roman, the 99. Joins us again, and Elias is typically a driver that would jump for the MX-5, but is elected for the Mustang this time around. And wants a little bit more torque, a little bit more power, and honestly, Eric, Summit Point can be kind of frustrating in the Mustang. It's a really big car for how narrow this track is and how technical that middle sector is.
Oh yeah, definitely. These cars kind of take a lot. They're very just slow moving, very heavy, take a lot to get through, particularly where we are right now, going through this technical section of the racetrack. And the Mustang generally, as far as I can remember, maybe if there's been a tire update on iRacing, it's a little bit different now, but especially early in the runs, it's very easy to just spin those rear tires a little bit too much and get the back end of the car to come around. And you've really got to pay attention and make sure that that doesn't happen coming off these slow corners.
Yeah, this is one of the cars that would probably change the most in terms of the tire model changing its characteristic. It used to be a car that felt very video gamey, very sloshy, and now it's got a lot more response in the steering, a lot better steering feel. So it's generally a better car to operate than it used to be. So as Elias Roman rolls down to turn 1 here in the slipstream, he might have a pretty good time following those front two.
Yeah, we mentioned that it's not going to be as big a deal, but any little bit helps when you're looking at qualifying times. If you can pick up even half a tenth or maybe a full tenth, if you're able to hit the draft perfectly on your lap, you're doing yourself a big favor there. This corner is probably my favorite on the track, to be honest. It's just so rewarding when you can get the entry and the exit of that corner right, and really feel like you've carried as much speed as possible through there.
Down into turn 5, the other thing that both categories of cars have is anti-lock brakes. Now that's really handy, Eric, because as we all know that in racing, if you don't have anti-lock brakes, heading down into a deep braking zone and locking up your tires can mean certain disaster. But these drivers can basically just pound the pedal to the floor. But I've found in the Mustang and the MX-5 that you really do want a threshold brake and get the brakes right to the point of lockup or right before you feel that ABS in your wheel. That's about the right point to stop putting pressure into the pedal.
Yeah, and we just saw Elias Roman there having to make a pass on his first timed lap, and that's not what you want for a qualifying lap. That's going to not be probably his best lap he's capable of hitting, but now Murphy Nichols is going to see if he can make advantage from being behind Roman this lap.
So times beginning to populate the top of the timing and scoring, and the black number boards again are the Mustang category. Something you might find interesting here is that the top drivers, I believe, are also organized by overall order, so we might have a handful of Mustangs that are actually slower than Miatas, just again given how little differentiation there is on raw pace around Summit Point. I think we're going to see some of the Mustangs be slower on raw pace than the Miatas around here, probably towards the tail of the field. Clark Ostrom in the 44 and Dave Fitzgerald have not yet taken to the racetrack. Those are our 9th and 10th Ford FR500 Mustangs. Murphy Nichols in behind that 99 of Elias Roman, riding on board.
The technical section, and this is, for me, the most difficult part of the track where I tend to lose, and you see the difference between Roman and Murphy Nichols there, and who's hitting the line the way that they need to. Roman just kind of pulled away fairly easily through there, and that's where I found myself lacking, is trying to get through that section of the racetrack the way that it's meant to be done, and still haven't quite figured it out, and I think it's a learning curve for anybody when they get around this track.
Summit Point, West Virginia, population 53,000. Summit Point Raceway constructed in 1970, so it's been around a little while. Paul Newman ran many of his early career races at Summit Point Raceway, so it holds a special place in the heart of many people in the Atlantic region. And Paul Gibson in the 31, quickest on track right now in a 1:19.386. That was his fastest lap. 2.5 tenths behind him is Thomas Layton in the Dogecoin car. Man, I feel old because I remember this meme is, what, almost a decade old now? 2013, 2014, it's been around a while.
Yeah, and basically the reason it's still Dogecoin is even relevant in that kind of Bitcoin market is because of this meme, to be honest. All indications show that the meme is what's kind of keeping it alive and makes people trust in it. So all the power to Doge and his coin.
Just an update for those watching at home. We have 6.5 minutes left in qualifying to set our starting lineup for our 30-minute sprint race here tonight with our 2 discrete categories. Again, they'll both be on the racetrack, sharing the racetrack, but in their own separate races based on the coloration of the number boards on the left-hand side of the screen. The top 10 drivers in your listing, you see the black number boards, those are the Mustangs. The red number boards are the Miatas. The bottom 5 on each of those sets of the ticker will rotate all the way down to the bottom of the order. Look at the track temp here, Eric, 113 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a little bit toasty here, and it's a super clear day in the virtual Summit Point Raceway, so going to get hot and sticky and probably slippery by the end of the session.
Yeah, when you get above 110 degrees, you really start to feel it through the steering wheel. Cars just want to slide; they don't want to accelerate or brake it as much as you would like them to, and exactly to your liking. So that's going to be an adjustment for anyone out here to make sure that they're driving to the track conditions and above all else.
Look right here; you see the glowing brake rotors, the front brakes of Murphy-Nichols, and this is just a good example of how much you're going into turn 5. You're carrying about 130 miles an hour down in there. Then you're leaning on these old, FR 500 brakes. This car weighs about 3,600 pounds, so it's not a light car by any stretch. Actually, I think Murphy-Nichols' car has 3,600 right on it. You can see right here. It's got the 3,600 annotation on it, so it's a heavy car. Slowing it down takes a lot of energy, and that energy has to go somewhere, and it's the form of heat and light in the front brake rotors of these Mustangs.
Yeah, nice to see those things glowing like that. But with only 30 minutes of racing, it's not going to be too big a deal.
Yeah, the only thing that will really affect, and this isn't even really true on such a short race, but higher brake temperature will basically put heat into the wheel and then into the tire, so it can raise your tire pressures up. And more tire pressure generally means less grip beyond a certain point, so you don't want to get into that range. There's Paul Gibson again. He just went quicker for a 6th time. A 1:18.969 is his best lap. He stays on pole. Layton has improved as well. And Nikhil Kokar in the 42 is in 3rd. Elias Roman, Peter Lausen, the rest of the top 5.
It looks like we've got 2 drivers, Ostrom and Fitzgerald, who have chosen not to participate in qualifying, and they'll start at the back, I'm assuming, of the Mustang field and not of the entire field altogether.
Yes, and no word on whether those 2 drivers will actually race or not yet. Again, we won't really know that until they grid up for the race. So we've got 4 minutes left for them to potentially get a lap time in, and if not, they'll start from the tail of the grid, as you mentioned. Don Manning in the 92, out in his own racetrack, but this is a good example of what I mentioned earlier. You'll notice that Don Manning is currently listed 12th. Now, it's not 12th in class, that's 12th overall. He is actually behind 4 MX-5s and 7 Ford FR500. So the Mustang is not always the fastest car out there, depending on who's in the car. Don wheeling it right now down in 8th place in class and working his way up over the top of the hill.
Yeah, just the nature of this track, the Mustang not really having too much straightaway to really show its power as opposed to the Mustang as opposed to the Mazda is really what's keeping these lap times so close together.
Right. I mean, the Mustang again has about 325 horsepower compared to about 180 or so in the Mazda MX-5 Miata. So it's got a significant amount more power, but the Miata also only weighs about 2,200 pounds, whereas as I mentioned earlier, these Mustangs weigh 3,600, so another 1,400 pounds more. That's significant around a racetrack like this, and the straightaway allows the Mustang to get a little bit faster, but it's a little slower in the corners overall. The other thing that doesn't help the Mustang is its aerodynamics. It's sort of shaped like a refrigerator and isn't exactly the slipperiest object in a straight line through that air.
Yeah, I'd love to see an updated Mustang on iRacing 2 one of these days, as they've come a long way in their design since the version that we have here. That would be fun to see what the newer Mustangs could do on iRacing. But these cars still, every time I get in them, they're fun to drive and fun to race.
Super fun to race. And one of the things I love about both these cars is that they're both 6-speed manual transmissions. That's the old school way to race around Summit Point, is with all 3 pedals in the pedal box. Heel toe downshifting and the sort. Although the Miatas, you can kind of get away without it. You can just blip your downshifts. The Mustang, you got to heel toe it the old-fashioned way. Left foot on the clutch, right foot on the gas and the brake. Big smoke cloud through turn number 3. That's a car turned around backward. I believe that's Elias Roman. Indeed it is.
Sitting 4th place right now. Probably not enough time to get out and then get back around the track for another lap. So that's going to be his session done, most likely.
You can see right there, he just grabs the grass. See the little blades of grass flying off the race car, and that just shows that got a little too close to the edge, lost the grip on the right rear tire, upset the balance, and will spin around into the gravel trap. And thankfully here in iRacing, the gravel doesn't completely stop you and get you stuck like it would in the real world. So that's a nice, pleasant surprise. Is that all? I feel like Summit Point, and maybe those in the comments would know, if Summit Point is still gravel trap out there at the exit of turn 3, or if it's all been paved over. I think it's still gravel. But I could
I've never seen this track in real life, even in videos, other than some onboards.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Posted by the likes of DJ and all that. So I don't know much about the track in real life terms now in the way that it currently looks.
There's a handful of racetracks that I've been to, mostly in the last year. And this is still not one of the tracks I've been to in person, but I would like to add it to the list at some point. This weekend I'll be in Bowling Green, Kentucky for a different grassroots racing event, heading to NCM Motorsports Park. So excited to go see that one. That's a brand new racetrack built in 2014. And then, of course, Gingerman Raceway coming up on our schedule in June, which will be exciting as well. That's another grassroots track that you probably haven't heard of if you're from outside the western Michigan area. And again, just like we saw earlier in the Miatas, no major changes in the running order. Don Manning picked up some time. He jumps up to 8th overall and gets ahead of all the rest of the Miatas. Only 2/10 between the back of the Mustang field and the front of the Miata field, though.
The times are close, but as we mentioned, the separation on the start will keep any overlap probably from happening unless something happens to the cars at the back of this Mustang field. But we'll see how that plays out over the half hour. I guess it is possible that you might see the faster MX-5s kind of run down the slower Mustangs,
yes,
and that could wreak havoc for their race as well.
Sure could. Just got confirmation, thanks to the people in the comments for helping out. It is still gravel out there in turn number 3. It's a real old school racetrack, kind of lined up with trees and tire bundles the old-fashioned way. There's something kind of cool about that. There's not a lot of racetracks like that left. I mean, you could throw Road America into that list. Road America hasn't really changed since 1955. I know that Black Hawk Farms is another racetrack that is also super old school. It's another kind of grassroots racetrack, sort of described as a mini Road America. There are tracks that have changed significantly. I'm thinking of places like Watkins Glen. Daytona's obviously changed a handful of times. Sebring's changed over the course of a half a century of racing. Slightly, but it's changed. So with the checkered flag out, Paul Gibson is our pole sitter in the Mustang field. Thomas Layton will line up alongside him. In Miatas, it's Zach Rubin and DJ Alessandrini sharing that front row. Here's a look at Summit Point Raceway, looking down at that almost mile-long front straight. It's super narrow, only about 2.5 lanes wide, Eric, but I've seen drivers get 4 wide down there. It can be pretty wild.
Yeah, I could see that happening off the start with our Mazdas, with how much they're going to be all over each other. I'm assuming, do they have to hold off to a certain point to start their race, or are they going?
Yes, they will take their own green flag on the start-finish straight. Of course, they'll be pretty close to the front straightaway already, just because we only have 4 rows of Mustangs, maybe 5 if we have those stragglers join the race. So it's going to be a pretty tight group from the front. And like I said, I don't think we're going to see significant lapping from the Mustang field into the MX-5 field, although there is a 6-second differential between the fastest MX-5, maybe that's not quite right, a 4.5-second differential from the fastest MX-5 to the slowest, so there is a fairly sizable difference there. Heading down to the racetrack now, let's get a last look at our weather before we get into the pace lap and the race. Again, 80 degrees Fahrenheit in the air, track temp about 115, so a little bit toasty to say the least, and I'm going to roll through our starting lineup here in just a moment. On the front row tonight in the Mustang category, it's Paul Gibson in the number 31, Thomas Layton on the outside in second place. Nikhil Kopkar, the 42, starts in row 2 alongside Elias Roman. Then it's Peter Lausen, Murphy Nichols, Francois Brou, and Don Manning. The rest of the Mustang grid back to GMX5, Zach Rubin in the number 7, DJ Alessandrini in the number 61. In the penthouse seal, Morgan BURKHARD in the second row, Varas Barzinji in the 125 alongside Ryan Maloney in the third row. Jamison Huffman in row number 4 alongside Peter Schnorr in the 32. The rest of the order scrolling on the left-hand side of the screen. Well, we've got a couple keys to the race to go over as well, Eric, and the first key to the race is home track. Everyone knows that you go to a home track, it holds a special place in your heart. You probably know how to get around a little bit better than some of the other racetracks here at iRacing.
Yeah, definitely. I just experienced that over the weekend with racing at New Hampshire in the modifieds. Had a really great run there, and it just makes all the difference in the world when you know the track just a little bit better than everybody else, and you know exactly what the car needs to feel like, and you can drive it to that point.
Miata Mayhem, we've got almost 30 of them tonight. We've got 28 of them to be exact, 27 already gridded up and ready to go racing. So especially for those in the middle of the Miata pack, Eric, and at maybe the tail end or pointy end of the Mustang field, negotiating that pack is going to be pretty tricky.
Definitely. I think the opening laps, especially heading down into turn 1 this first time, hopefully we won't catastrophes take place and everyone will get through clean, but they're going to be all over each other. Probably double wide for at least the first few corners, I would guess, throughout the middle of the field.
And mixed up at the front, will we see DJ Alessandrini get dethroned? He's won almost everything this season in his category, and starting at the pointy end of the Miata field again tonight, so he will likely be the one to beat. As always, no surprises there. One last look at Summit Point Raceway before we get into our 30-minute race, about 23 laps worth of action here tonight. Again, that long front straight, that's ripe for slipstreaming and passing down into turn 1. That's probably your best passing opportunity, but Eric, you could force it into turn 5 or turn 10 if you're really desperate.
Yeah, turn 5 would be difficult. It would kind of take almost a Hail Mary move down there, and you have to kind of bum rush the corner to get your spacing there to make the move there. But people will do it if they see that that's their opportunity to make a pass. And yeah, turn 10, a little bit more difficult, I think, to set up, because there's not a huge braking point through that final corner to really make a difference under braking there. So it's going to be all about momentum off of turn 9 and what you can pull off down the straightaway heading into turn 10 to decide what happens through that corner. Otherwise, you're going to be using it to set up a slipstream down the front straightaway down into turn 1.
And shout out to Tom O'Gorman again, not with us here tonight. Usually he'd be announcing this evening, but Tomo is down testing for One Lap of America in a ZR1 Corvette right here at Summit Point Raceway. Not able to join him tonight, but I will be seeing him this weekend at NCM Motorsports Park, and he'll be back racing his Honda S2000, which is back with a K24 in it after blowing up back at NOLA Motorsports Park back in November. So glad to see Tom back in a race car where he belongs, and you'll get to see him race this weekend, which is really, really exciting. Through turn number 5, Paul Gibson on the inside lined up. One of the runs down to, or one of the things we always talk about on the run down to turn 1 here at Summit Point, is that if you pin the guy to the inside, make him jump that curb, Eric, you can make a pass on the outside down there.
Yes, definitely. That's just part of the tactics of having to race at Summit Point, putting your competition in positions where they're not going to be able to get through the corner as cleanly, whether it's using the bumps, using the curbing to upset them, or just pinching them on exits and through the center of these corners to where they are exiting corners more slowly, and you can kind of make move on the outside at a few places.
So Paul Gibson out front in the 31 for the Mustang field. We've got 8 of those drivers lined up. The other 2, Dave Fitzgerald, Clark Ostrom never actually gridded. So 8 of our big heavy Mustangs in the big bore category, and 27 in GMX5. Waiting for the green flag to fly here for round number 5. Group 1 racing for the Washington, D.C. region Virtual Racing League here at iRacing at a home track, Summit Point, West Virginia. We're racing. Green flag flies, 30 minutes on the board.
Roman already making a move to the right-hand side of the track, trying to follow the top 2 on the inside lane through this first corner.
Wow, big braking move from Thomas Layton on the outside into turn number 1. Going to try to pinch down Paul Gibson, but Gibson's going to go the short way around, and at the exit of turn number 2, they're still going to be side by side. In the backdrop, the Miata field taking the green flag now. Look at this hornet's nest on the run down to turn 1.
Alessandrini already dropped into second place, trying to make a big move on the outside of this first corner. He's going to want to make sure he at least exits this corner in second place.
So Zach Rubin is the leader as they come out of the first turn. Timing and scoring on the left-hand side of your screen. Mustangs up top, Miata's on the bottom. And Alessandrini trying to force his way up the inside into turn 3. Can he go to the lead from here?
He's going to try, and he gives room on the outside there. Good clean racing for the moment as they head through turn 4. Alessandrini's going to have the spot for turn 5.
Big jump on the curb for Zach Rubin. DJ goes down the inside, slip and slide behind him. A couple cars making contact, a little bit awkward through here. The 19 going the wrong direction, or make that the 29 rather. More stack-ups there, cars off track, and there's a car around. It's Sang Yi in the 35 has gotten punted off course.
Yeah, I figured that would be the trouble spot heading down in turn 5 with that many cars so close together.
Oh, he just got up on top of it.
He just got on top of the curbing there and couldn't keep the car under control and collected a couple others, sending one off track.
Yeah, he just got, as you mentioned, just got kind of hung up on the curbing there. Here's Nikhil Cup car in the 42. This is down in turn 1. Lap complete already. And through goes the 42 car. He slides into position for second.
Gibson has over a second lead. That's good to see if you're him right now. And these two battling behind, and now looking, you're going to see a crossover move. Wow, such a crossover.
Yeah, that's a big, oh no, Cup car's off course and slams into the tire barrier in front of the field. He went off too far off course there, I think got into the gravel, and that was it for the 42 car with such a strong start. Just ran too wide.
Yeah, it's a little, pushing it maybe a little more than you really want to this early in the race, only a second lap in. And, you know, you probably could have given up that spot a little easier and still had a shot to go back at it later on in the race. But there he goes off track, getting himself in the tires, and they just kind of wrap him around.
So a big gap here in the Miatas. Back to Frank Taberzi in the 121. This is a battle for 14th place. Danny Gross on the brakes, trying to go up the inside. This is the car that went off in the early moments in turn 5 on the first lap. And some fairly significant damage to the nose of that number 72 Miata. And going the wrong direction here early. Started this race in 22nd overall and has dropped one spot even with the damage.
Yeah, do these cars have the new damage model? Because both of these cars seem to have been damaged in ways that I'm not really used to seeing.
The Miata does, the Mustang does not, so it defaults to no new damage model. It's the 17 car of Harry Horning. Whoop, some more pushing and shoving back here. Charlie Abel getting the punt from Steve Loving, and Abel goes wide at the exit of turn 10.
Looks like he has some damage on the back of his car as well.
Morgan BURKHARD in the 2, dropping a spot to Ryan Maloney, going to try to cross him up at the exit. And now drag race here to turn number 3 as the front 3 get all close together, and there's Ken Alseal, the blue and green car, sneaking up inside the top 3. Again, we were surprised maybe he didn't qualify better. Well, he's racing real well. Here he is in 3rd.
Yeah, and this is especially with Alseal and Alessandrini. I've seen them race against each other a heck of a lot, and they're always all over each other as Alseal goes deep into 5, almost makes a pass, but ends up saving it and settling back into 3rd, bringing 4th place back up to the group with them as we see a car rejoining after having gotten off into the barriers.
It's Jeff Barlow here. He might have had some help. That's the 191 of Adam Kobach. I wonder, oh yeah, I think the 34 might have turned in on him there just a little bit.
Yeah, it looked like from that angle, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. Well, no harm, no foul. He'll get back rolling. Don Manning is on pit lane. Didn't really see what happened to him. But it looks like his day is going to be over. Elias Roman in the 3rd place Mustang is back about 2 seconds from second. He's got Murphy Nichols right behind him, Peter Lausen, and Francois Brou, the Frenchman, in the 69 car, running in 6th place right now.
Yeah, these Mustangs have kind of had some gap show up in between them, not staying as close together as the Mazda field is. So it looks like they're going to have a little bit calmer of a race as we go back to a sideways MX-5.
Yeah, that's the 121 at Taberzi, and yeah, no calmness in the cockpit there. Full steering lock off into turn 1, trying to hang on to the car as Adam Kobach went through and took a spot. There's Giancarlo Schouler right behind as well. He's 15th. Scott Merker about 2 seconds back. There's battles all over the racetrack in the Miatas, and that's sort of part of the fun here. Even up at the front, Got our top 5 all together. These cars will not separate for the next 24 minutes. They're going to be on top of each other for the entire time, and there's no chance to breathe for anybody. You're in a battle from the drop of the green flag, and that's sort of the attraction to these things, I think.
Yeah, these are definitely really fun races to watch when you have drivers of this quality of going at it the way that they are. And it's very important that none of these drivers, RUBIN, Hausiel, Maloney, BURKHARD, let ALESSANDRINI get too far away and break kind of the draft that'll keep them together. As long as they're as close as they are now to ALESSANDRINI, then any of them really have a shot at it as we get closer to the end of this race.
There's Richard Spicer in the number 65. He's up 5 spots from where he started on the back tailpipes of Jamison Huffman in the 89, who's really deep into turn 1. Got it slowed down nicely, though. And will accelerate out. Sang Yi on a charge back forward past Charlie Abel. This is for 21st.
Couple damaged cars. All 3 of these cars damaged, actually, but still out there racing for position, and then it looks like he's going to get tapped.
Oh, look out. Oh, that was a real good job by Sang Yi to get the car slowed after getting tapped from Abel behind, and Steve Loving is thankful for that as well. And they managed to not make something bigger out of that. Here's Kobach in the 191 driving through the dust. He's got Danny Gross on a recovery charge behind him.
Yeah, impressive recovery from Sang Yi there, but here we go with the 72 trying to get around the 191 here down in turn 5, and this is the technical part where you're probably not going to see any passes made, but it's very important to get through here as best you can to set up a run out of turn 9 and into turn 10 for a potential pass.
And the reason why everyone's going, hey, why are we watching the front of the field in MX5? Well, because they're probably going to be like this for the next 20 minutes. These guys are probably, well, as the guys behind him are having a bit of a scramble. The guys up at the front, these top 4, they know exactly what they're doing. They're not going to swap positions here. They're just ticking away laps. You don't necessarily want to be the leader on the final lap, so you're going to plan this out like it's a chess match. No real urgency right now, and so we're going to move back to battles like this one. Sam Scott and Jamison Huffman having a tussle at the exit of turn 10.
Yeah, the top 5 or 6 there seem like they're content to be where they are and just get to the end of the race. And once you go back behind them, it's Fury Road out there.
It looks like it. Frank DeBerzy around in turn 1. He's almost crashed a handful of times, but finally it happens. I wonder if he had some help. It's the 1 car behind him. He got in there all hot on his own. Too much speed, and the 72 car gets collected.
Thankfully for those that looked like he hit, they were able to continue relatively ease.
Oh man, 3 wide.
They come through, more dust flying.
Louis Alessi in the 43, that's the student driver car, slides in front. Not a scratch on that thing yet. Funnily enough, the student driver, I mean, we know Louis isn't new to this by any stretch, but I find it ironic that the student driver car is the only one without a dent on it here in the whole back half of the field. It's physical back there.
Oh yes, it does with these Mazdas, with how hard you can drive them, and you kind of have to make the speed necessary. So this is really kind of the end result you're seeing with some of the contact we've seen of drivers just pushing the car as hard as they can.
Sam Scott in the 98 car is losing a spot to Peter Schnorr in the 32. This is back in GMX5 for 8th. And while all this has been happening, we're going to go back to our Mustang category because Thomas Layton has run down Paul Gibson. This could be a battle for the lead here shortly.
Doge looking for the top position as they head through turn 10 for another time, and he's going to try to set up for a drafting move down the front straightaway. I think it's going to be effective enough to get him there.
No, we talked about this in qualifying. I don't really think that the draft in the Mustang category is really anything to be considered useful. It's not going to hurt you by any stretch, but that battle's certainly heating up. Thomas Layton a little bit quicker right now, was 0.3 better last lap around.
This is this track is pretty easy to run defensively as well. So Gibson has plenty of options in order to keep Layton behind as they go through. They've got 20 minutes. That's a long time to have to drive defensively, but this track, as narrow as it is and with few passing opportunities as there are, it opens the door for you to really kind of be defensive and hang on to your position and really.
Whoa! DJ Alessandrini dropping down the order. He's off in turn number 1. Well, I just said a minute ago that they wouldn't be battling, but obviously something happened down here. Was it a mistake or was it a punt? Alessandrini. Wow, that is a really rare moment right there. Watching DJ Alessandrini make a mistake, that's not something you see a lot of times. Let's have another look at it here. He had a big push from Zach Rubin, was just carrying so much speed into turn 1. Tried to slow it down. He couldn't. He just runs off course. He drops all the way down to 6th. So now we're going to focus back on the battle at the front because watching him climb through it will be awful entertaining. It's going to take him a few laps to get there, though.
Yeah, it's just made his 19 minutes of this race more interesting for him, but probably not the way that he wanted it to be, as he makes a rare mistake, costing him a few positions, but I don't think he's out of it yet. I think to count DJ out would be a mistake, and I don't think anybody's up there, especially Ken Houseel in the lead, has any idea that DJ is not going to be back in it by the end of this. They all go off into the dirt.
They gave him a little bit extra rumble strip, and they're still running wide, but Ken Houseel is almost clear of the draft, but not quite. It's only 7/10, so they will run him back down. So this is far from over, as Zach Rubin pops out of line on the 15 of Ryan Maloney into turn number 1. Back to Mustang. Look, there's some cars at the tail end of the Miata field that they're going to have to negotiate. And the damage on the 31 of Paul Gibson, I would say that he's been into the back of somebody, and that probably is hurting.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think we saw that last time we were watching his car just a couple minutes ago.
Yep.
So I'm not sure when that would have happened.
Recently, I can tell you that, and that is going to absolutely destroy straight line performance in this car aerodynamically, because it already wasn't aerodynamic.
No, it's going to make it even harder to defend if it's really affecting him as bad as it looks like it might. I'm wondering if maybe he ran into an MX-5 already as they were trying to make their way past.
The difference on the straightaway is 3 miles an hour. I was just watching on my timing and scoring screen. 3 miles an hour is the difference. And while this is happening, back to GMX5, Ken Houseel has gotten his lead out to 1.6 seconds. And Eric, that's free of the draft.
Yeah, it is, and that's he's going hard right now. He's going to just try to keep maintaining or putting on more of a lead. And as you see the group behind them, that could play into his hand as well, because now they're seeing that he's driving away. So if you're sitting third, you're thinking, I can get back up to him if I was in second. You're going to start racing harder and cost yourselves more time. So this is going Houseel's way right now with 17 minutes to go.
And back up to the Mustang category. Thomas Layton is just beating on the rear bumper of this 31 car. He wants by. He's faster. He's been faster almost every lap the last few times around, but he just doesn't have anywhere to go. Yeah,
it's really difficult to get it. He might have a run here as Gibson goes wide into the dirt. This might be it.
Well, here he goes. Pass for the race lead here at Summit Point, the DC Region Virtual Racing League. Thomas Layton gets by Paul Gibson. Can he clear him on the run down to turn 1? There's traffic ahead. Layton deeper on the brakes. Can he get it mowed down? Overshoots it. Here comes Gibson back to the inside.
He's got a Mazda taking up one of these lanes here.
I think Layton's through, and I don't think he's going to look back at this point. But the traffic is thick, and so Elias Roman in the background is really excited to see this, but now Layton can't make a misstep because Gibson's right there to pounce on him. Get that spot back. You see the brakes early in turn 4 following Miata, and now has to go the long way around. Oh, spin in front of him. Look out. That's the 43 of Louis Alessi. A real awkward moment there for everybody. Alessi was the one that looped it. Layton's free and clear for the time being. Back to GMX5, the lead. Here's Houseel. Leads 1.3 seconds over Maloney. Rubin, BURKHARD, Alessandrini is still stuck in 5th. A little deeper in GMX5, Steve Loving, Scott Merker, 19th and 20th. Whoa, real wide.
Every corner of that 72 car or 77 car looks like it's beat up.
He's had some people lean on him tonight, that's for sure. Kobach has a trio with him as well, Danny Gross and Giancarlo Schooler. Kobach's got a busy rearview mirror down here into turn number 5. Less than 15 minutes to go, and the intensity always starts to ratchet up as you see that timer count down. About 11 laps left in this race, halfway through.
Yeah, and you did mention Maloney was only 1.3 seconds behind. That's 0.3 gain from the 1.6 he was earlier. As we see, Francois Brugge has spun, maybe with help from an MX-5 that came together.
I think that's the 39 car, Cristobal Rodriguez. And we'll see if Brugge spins and then gets collected, or if there was more contact here into turn. Oh wow, that was from a long ways back. Wow. Yeah, oops.
That was like when your little brother tries to tries to go and take a swing at the big brother.
Yeah,
and,
he missed. Well, he did get him. I'll give him that. Here's Danny Gross under attack from Giancarlo Schooler. Very safe braking into turn one. He was certainly didn't want to run into the back of his fellow competitor. Whoa, that's getting aggressive.
Finally, the 72 looks to get a run on the 191 after trailing him for so long.
This is getting really messy here through turn three. Big slide for the 191. Opens the door for Schooler.
One car is in the prime position for this braking zone down in turn 5. Makes the pass before they get there.
Yeah, and Hoback knows they get on the brakes a little bit earlier, and they get out of that in one piece. Back up to fourth place in Mustang. There's Murphy Nichols in the Smoketown Brewing Station car. Peter Lausen in the creamsicle, kind of orange, pumpkin-colored Mustang, running in fifth.
Making me think of the old Singular wireless car in NASCAR from years ago.
That's a throwback. I remember that was the first year I started watching NASCAR was when it was Singular. Then it changed to AT&T the following year. So I'm sure there's probably a couple of younger people out there that. I mean, I'm only 22, so I'm not old by any stretch. But man, that makes me think back. That was 2007, I think.
Yeah, about that. It was Burton who was driving it at that point.
Yes.
So I would know.
Lausen going to get trapped in behind the Miata here for turn number 10. That gap to Murphy Nichols will expand. DJ Alessandrini, I think, is setting up a pass here on Morgan BURKHARD. An awful patient. No damage on this car from what I can tell. Nothing major, at least.
No, they've run down Halcyon, though. They're only 0.6 now behind Halcyon for the lead. So it's a pretty big gain in a short amount of time. I wonder if Halcyon got held up by that lap Miata they were passing, or just had a bad lap.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, Halcyon is by no stretch a slouch when it comes to getting out in front of the field and leading, but typically he's one of the ones that's following, and setting the pace is its own difficulty here. And I know he's got the very nicely placed logo here on the rear tailgate, which I find fascinating. But Ryan Maloney is also one of those drivers that isn't super aggressive, but he's always there at the end, and he's put himself in a really good position as Alessandrini in the background going to grab that spot for BURKHARD, and he moves his way up into fourth, and only 3 more to go to get that lead back.
Yeah, but 11 minutes to do it. He hasn't really cut through the field like I think we thought he would when he got back there, so it's going to take some work for him to get back to the lead, as there's a little bit of a gap for it to overcome just to get to the next position.
Yeah, he's definitely got some work to do. We'll check back in on him in a little bit. Back to Danny Gross and Giancarlo Schooler. Got Hoback coming back in the 191.
Yeah, these three have been all over each other for a long time, and they don't seem like they're ready to give that one up.
Big slide through turn number 3. These Miatas drive really well, and just they're so neutrally balanced that you just sort of tip them off into a corner, and they just balance on the right rear tire or the left rear tire, depending on what way you're going. Big push there for Danny Gross, but they balance really, really nicely, and they just have such a good kind of side slide to them that lets them catch, and they're a joy to drive around a racetrack like this for sure.
Yeah, the Mazda, it's always been a car I've not really been the greatest in, but it's always been a blast to drive it when I am in it. So it's just one of those things where there's nothing wrong about driving a Miata. It's always going to be entertaining and to watch and to do yourself.
Yeah, they're great road cars too. And of course, on Sim TV, we also produce and broadcast the Spec MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge, which uses the NC generation Mazda Miata. They're heading off to their penultimate round at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca next Wednesday. Make sure you tune into Winding Road Magazine's channel for that one. Another series organized by Dave Fitzgerald, who also organizes this series here. Ken Ausiel is under attack. It's a three-way race for the front, and DJ is tacked on there in fourth now, behind a little bit of lap traffic.
Yeah, the lap traffic seems to be hurting Ausiel and these top drivers here, and kind of working in the favor of DJ, as he's, I would think by the time we're here next lap, DJ is going to be right on the bumper of the 3 cars ahead.
Still work to do there for sure. Nothing happening much in Mustangs right now. Thomas Layton continues to lead the way. Less than 10 minutes to go, about 8 or 9 laps to go. And there's a big stack of traffic in front of Thomas Layton. Now, I don't think Paul Gibson is going to be able to run him back down, but there's the potential for chaos here, and I don't think Layton wants to get involved in it.
Yeah, I think you're going to pick your way through here as cautiously as possible with the lead that he has. He's got some time to use up if he wants to before he has to push anything.
And he's catching everybody in a really good spot here to catch him on the straightaway, and you could just thunder on by him and not have to deal with him in the corners. But he's going to get blocked.
Too wide.
Nowhere to go. Nowhere to go here, trapped in traffic. He's going to just push one of the cars through.
Now he's really just pushing his way through.
Oh man.
Almost gets contact.
Wow, that is... I cannot believe that that worked. Gave the one Schooler a shot and then almost got tagged from behind.
Yeah, Schooler is saying thank you very much for the push. Get me away from those two.
And I'm gone now, and you can slipstream off the Mustang for at least a moment before it drives off into the sunset here. Paul Gibson is off course at the exit of turn 3.
Apparently they haven't paved enough of this track for some of these drivers.
We were told it was gravel. Maybe they should consider pavement. And I bet you they'd use every inch of it. Get their money's worth. When you buy a ticket, they only pay you to use half the racetrack. You can use the whole thing, I guess. Just depends on where you consider the edge of the racetrack to be. All right, back to MX5. Top 4 all together. And now back to the patience that we were seeing. I think the front 3 are totally fine being patient. I think DJ, though, knows the game that they're playing, and I don't think you can play that game from 4th. I think you got to be 3rd, 2nd, or 1st.
Yeah, I don't think you have to be in the top 3, I think, to make something work here at the end. When you're 4th place, as soon as 2nd place makes his move on the lead, they're going to be side by side or battling, and then the 3rd place driver is just going to take up whichever lane is moving or looks like it's going to move, and then 4th place just kind of has nowhere to go and nothing to do. So DJ is going to have to get through to 3rd place to really have a good shot at anything in these last 6 minutes, but if there's anyone who can do it, it's definitely him.
77, Scott Merker went for a ride at the exit of turn 5. He was going to just slide it back on the course. Whoop, back to Giancarlo Schooler and Danny Gross and the 191 and a couple other drivers. David Stern into the mix now in the 29. That's the blue car.
Down into turn 5, heaviest braking zone on the track.
Not sure that this battle's completely over yet by any stretch. Murphy Nichols and Peter Lausen in the thick of Miata traffic. And Lausen trying to do something with the 5, but running out of time, 6 minutes to go. All right, more traffic now for the MX-5s, and Ausiel's held up, and Maloney's going to go through to the race lead. Not quite. They're still side by side now. The 23 tucks in, and DJ to 3rd. Look at that move.
Yeah, taking advantage of that lap traffic, moves his way up to 3rd as Ausiel drops to 2nd. We've got a new leader in Maloney up front for the MX-5s. I think what you were mentioning before, and it's a little early for him to want to be in that position, but Ausiel just kind of boxed himself in and gave him no choice but to just go by for the lead.
Yeah, I don't think it would have been messier to not take the spot. I think you got a chance to defend out front. I mean, you don't have a chance to win from 4th, so I think it was good for everyone to kind of get a shuffle and taste a little bit of a different strategy here. But I think you can win the race from 1st. You're not just a sitting duck here. You can plan it out to win it from the lead. You just got to be real creative about how you defend that spot in the closing moments.
Yeah, now Ausiel is already all over the rear bumper of Maloney. It looks like I would expect if the Ausiel would just want to get right back to that lead if he has the opportunity.
Yeah, 5 minutes left in the race. And here comes the 23, but he's going to stay in line and a big shot to the back of the 15. Carrying extra speed into turn 1. You got to make sure you don't overshoot. So far, so good.
So who do you want to be right now in this situation, Hausiel or Alessandrini?
I'd rather be Hausiel, I think. The only thing I don't like is that I have Alessandrini behind me. I think I would want to be Hausiel with DJ in front of me so that I have a chance to beat him. I think the problem Ken's going to face is that DJ is basically... Ken knows that DJ's not going to finish third here. He's going to go for it at some point. I think if there's any other driver behind Ken, I'd say he's in a great spot. I still prefer Ken's spot over DJ's because they only got to pass one car and not two. But in Ken's spot, you got to pass a car and also keep a car from passing you, and that's hard enough.
Yeah, obviously with the lack of a move down the front straight, Hausiel has no intention of making that move right now.
Yeah, no real rush here. Coming to 3 laps to go, or 4 to go for these guys, 3 laps to go for the race leader next time by. Ken drafting up. I think he's just testing the water to see how much suck up the car in front provides. And for those at home, the draft, the slipstream, the front car punches a hole through the air. And Ken Hausiel is going to use that to drive on by. DJ's going to follow him.
There's traffic ahead too. They're going to get this slow Mazda heading into turn 1.
Yeah, Maloney didn't defend that. I think he let that happen. And one can only wonder if Maloney and DJ are planning the same thing back on Ken. Now, I know Ken and DJ both very well, and I know that they're probably communicating right now, so it's more likely that the 23 and 91 are working together, or 61 rather, are working together versus Alessandrini and Maloney, but it's still a possibility. Nothing happening in the Mustang field right now. You're not missing a thing. Hausiel's really early on the brakes. DJ got in there. I don't think he meant to. They're going to touch.
Oh, moved him out of the way.
Yeah, everybody, that got really messy there. DJ knew that he got in too hot. He did not mean to do that. He jumped on the brakes at the exit of the corner to try to give the spot back, and there was nowhere for anyone to go, and it was just real awkward. Right here, he jumps on the brakes, and then the 15 and 7 run into each other. And they're all probably laughing about it in the communications channel right now because they all realize how silly that was. But DJ's out front. Now Ken's P2. I still like that 23.
Yeah, it would have been real embarrassing to take out all 4 of you right there.
Yes, they almost did.
That corner, and it came very close to it.
All right, 2 minutes left. And where is the Mustang leader? You see Maloney popping out of line on Zach Rubin. Maloney wants to get back to third, and he's going to try. Big lunge. He's going to be alongside the 23 even. Not quite. To third, Rubin's going to try to cross him over. Nice run there.
Yeah, that's the danger if you're Hausiel, not wanting to make that move down the front straight, that someone behind you could end up on your inside going into the corner or through the corner as a result of you trying to stay in second behind DJ. So you got to really play it by ear and have a very quick reaction to the cars behind you, as we're on just about a minute and a half away from the clock hitting 0.
Yeah, and Thomas Layton did take 2 laps to go. So next time by for these drivers will be 2 laps to go. But where is Layton? He's in turn 4. So conceivably, Layton could lap these guys or get to them before the race is over. I don't think it's likely. So I think these guys will have 2 laps to go coming to the stripe next time by. So DJ's really wide, got the tires up onto the grass strip there, and Hausiel's going to try to pounce, maybe. Stays in line.
No, I don't think you can use any more of the racetrack than DJ just did right there. Kind of maximized exactly to how much you could use before hitting the grass, and Hausiel now has a big run, but is he just going to stay in line and wait till the next lap?
Yeah, again, next time by is going to be the final lap, so he still has time to do this, but Ryan Maloney is not waiting around for anybody. He's going to try to drive by somebody, and he's going to
both.
He's going to might be able to get both, and he almost does, and he does. Maloney through it. Hausiel dumps Alessandrini to go to second. What a move there.
Yeah, a bit of a bump that pushed Alessandrini out a little bit wider than I think he expected or wanted to be, and Hausiel's going to move into, or try to move into second behind Maloney.
Oh, DJ lunges in there. They're going to be door-to-door fighting for second. Now note that the taker says last lap. This is only the last lap for the Mustang field and anybody behind Thomas Layton. So these guys still have a full lap after this one. So it's going to fizzle for now as they work through the middle sectors here. Jeff Barlow, Jack Chrissy, and Adam Kobach having a bit of a scrap. Or Kobach actually leaving the pits. So Thomas Layton is on the final lap. He's out front by 8.5 seconds. When he comes back to the stripe, it'll be checkered flag for him. and everybody behind him, like Paul Gibson, who started off real strong, Eric, but the damage on that car is insurmountable. He is not able to bring that thing back to the front.
Now, but second place finish with a car that looks like that, I think you got to just take it for what it is and come back next time out and try to do a little bit better, as he's fallen almost 9 seconds back, but he's still got plenty of room over Elias Roman in third, where he's not going to be challenged at all for that position.
Thomas Layton, the number 13, comes across the line. He wins round 5 of the DC Region SCCA Virtual Racing League. In the Mustang category, Paul Gibson comes home second. Elias Roman and Peter Lausen, they're going to drag race here to third. And a car blowing up behind him, they'll just get back to the stripe. Roman third, Lausen fourth, Brew and Murphy Nichols fifth and sixth. Now back to the Miatas. Final lap for them now. Ken Ausil.
Front.
Yep, Ausil's gone to the lead. Maloney second and Alessandrini third. DJ's running out of options here. He's going to need these front two to tangle if he wants to win this race. I think Maloney's in the best spot of all of them.
Yeah, we haven't really seen anybody get a big enough draft to be side-by-side going into turn 10, so is that going to change this lap? Have everyone just kind of purposely not made that move? We'll see right here as they come through 9.
Yeah, I don't know if Maloney's quite as strong as Alessandrini or Ausil, so Ken might be able to back him up here and be able to run him back to the stripe. But Maloney's got a big run. Is he going to sit on it? Yes, he will. Final corner for the MX-5s. Ken Ausil through turn number 10. Maloney's going to have a run. Drag race back to the stripe. Ken Ausil is leading. And was he in the right spot? He was. Ken Ausil wins at Summit Point and goes for a launch. Ryan Maloney and DJ Alessandrini. Wow. DJ comes across the line in third.
Yeah, I think things just kind of fell apart in that last couple laps for the top 4. I think they got jumbled up and out of sorts, and all their plans kind of got set aside. Yeah,
just this front straightaway isn't long enough to really make a run at the front. You have to do it coming to the white flag, and nobody did, or Ausil did, but there's that jump again. What a drive by Ken Ausil. He gets it done. A long overdue victory for him. And here's a look at your race results in the Mustang category. It's Thomas Layton in the 13, Gibson, Elias Roman, Lausen, Francois Brew, the rest of the top 5. Then there's your top 3 in Miatas. And I think the top 5 is pretty predictable. I think the order is not.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would have expected, just from my experiences with DJ, that he would have been out front from the start and kind of held it, but Ken Ausil up there as the one to dethrone Alessandrini makes a lot of sense. But I think the second place driver of Maloney was a little bit of a surprise to be up there and challenging as hard as he was against those two powerhouse drivers.
Absolutely. There's the rundown, the rest of the list here. Steve Loving, Cross, Barzinji qualified well, didn't finish quite as well as I think he would have hoped. Of course, a handful. Nikhil Kopkar, heart goes out to him on lap number 2. Having issues and tumbled down the bottom of the order. We're going to step away for just a moment. We'll be back with interviews here in a moment. DJ Alessandrini, third place in the Miata field tonight. DJ, wow, that was a wild one. Things kind of got shuffled, and I don't think you quite ended up where you wanted to. Take me through the last couple laps of that race and how things sort of slipped away.
First off, Kyle, can you hear me okay, or is this my bad mic?
I got you. This is the right mic.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it was a little hectic. I had net code between Ken and I didn't want to just like dump him and run. So I kind of stacked everybody up, so we get a little reset. So that probably looked kind of silly on stream. But I didn't. If I would have just touched him with my invisible bumper there and just ran, I think I might have won the race. But I don't want to win like that. And yeah, it was just crazy at the end there. I was in a good position of power, and I didn't think that Maloney could come from third and draft past both Ken and I. And then I got just a bad launch off of one, so I wasn't even next to him. Yeah, just, you know, the race ended on the wrong lap. If it would have ended a couple laps earlier or a couple laps later, I might have been able to come out with the win. But that's just you know how Miata racing is.
Yeah, a solid race though, regardless, DJ. And in a couple weeks, we're going to head back to our GT3 racing, I believe at Road America this time. I'm sure you're looking forward to getting back at that racetrack with those cars.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Road America, and I've really been digging the GT3 cars with their latest updates. And yeah, they just feel, honestly, they kind of feel like GLTC cars, which is cool.
All right, DJ. Hey, thanks for talking. We'll see you next time at Road America in 2 weeks. We'll see you there.
All right, thanks, Kyle.
Thank you. Ken Alseal, the winner of the MX5 category race tonight. Ken, that was a wild revolving door of racers at the front of the field. Take me through your perspective and how things sort of shuffled in your favor those last couple laps.
Yeah, so I was perfectly fine just cruising around in third for the first half and let them battle, save tires mostly. It was hot out there, and I don't know what the track temps were by the end, but man, that was really hot. So, like I said, just cruise around and then start making moves, and I made the move and got to the lead. And they were battling. I'm like, oh, I can try to run away, but the gap was like a tenth of a second too small, and they had enough draft to catch back up. So, is what it is. And then DJ letting me back after that weird contact left him room, and then I was sideways. So I think it was some net code. But yeah, fun race. Good job to everybody. I was just saying to these guys, it's so fun to race with people who know what they're doing.
Yeah, super fun race. Ken, congratulations on the victory. Hopefully we'll see you back. I think we've got one. Do we have one more round of these cars? I think we do. Looks like it. Watkins Glen Boot on May 26th. Hopefully we'll see you there.
Yeah, it'll be really fun. Looking forward to that.
All right, thanks, Ken. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Hey, Tom Layton, you got a copy?
Hey, Kyle.
How's it going, man? Congratulations. Victory here in the Mustang category. Battled Paul Gibson there for a handful of laps. He had some damage that he was not able to recover from. You passed him about midway through the race and never looked back. Take us through your night.
Yeah, started off dropping back to third. Mikhail, he kind of took over that second spot, and lucky for me, he kind of crashed out. So then it was just a matter of staying close to Paul as much as I could, trying to be efficient through traffic, hit that draft, and then yeah, passing some Miatas. He took a little damage, and he was losing some time lap after lap on the straights. So after that, it was just kind of a matter of just passing people efficiently and staying clean.
It was a really solid race. We've got one more of these rounds at Watkins Glen Boot in a handful of weeks, May 26th to be exact. Your thoughts on Watkins Glen? We ran the short course already, but we're heading back there with the full course in about a month. You feel like you can go out there and win again?
Yeah, time to remember how to drive a GT3 and get some practice in, and I think that'll be a really fun night.
All right, Tom. Hey, thanks for your time. Thanks for talking. Best of luck to you. We'll see you next time. All right, wrapping things up here tonight, Eric. Half-hour race, real short, real fun though. A lot of spectacular battles, specifically in the Miata category. But the Mustangs had some good fights there. Tom Layton charging through the field and passing Paul Gibson. Ended up winning the Mustang category. But our next round in 2 weeks will be at Road America with GT3 cars.
Oh, that sounds like a blast, especially with this field of drivers out there around that track. A lot of a little bit more drafting available around Road America there, and great passing opportunities. Just a great racetrack all around. So these drivers, and GT3 machinery around that track can't ask for a better situation for a good night of racing.
Well, it's the National Park of Speed, Road America, in 2 weeks' time for the round number 6 of the 2021 DC Region Virtual Racing League. If you'd like to learn how to join, if you are a DC Region member, you can check out the information on the DC Region website to learn how to be a part of this before the season is over. As the real world kicks into high gear with racing, probably be less and less sim racing stuff as everyone tends to the real world racing obligations. I'm Kyle Heyer with Eric Mickey. Thanks so much for watching. We're going to see you next time in 2 weeks. And we'll see you at Road America, the National Park of Speed.